Hello all. So we'll now start with the post-lunch session by Sara Hassan, titled Combating Fake News, an initiative by the BBC. She's currently the training manager for Asia at the BBC World Service. She has been working at the BBC for 11 years and started as a monitoring journalist and now train all the journalists at the BBC. She's also leading the Beyond Fake News Digital Literacy program at BBC India. Over to you, ma'am.
So I hold the mic. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. After lunch sessions are usually, not very enthusiastic because people feel sleepy and you've had such a nice lunch. And the previous session was very engaging and very informative. So bear with me if you feel I will have a very short presentation. So I will not bore you with slides and slides, but I would like a lot of interaction from you. So if you have any questions, we can talk about it. If you want to do anything, we can discuss whatever I can in my limited knowledge tell you. It'll be my privilege. So thank you for inviting me here, Professor Rat. It's always a pleasure to come to IIT Gandhinagar and see some of the brightest students of our country here. And today I talk about fake news. In the last session, the last slide, just before the quote, and I think that is from Mahatma Gandhi, leads us very nicely to this session. This is something that we as an organization and a lot of, in fact, all media organizations are dealing with today, when our trust in media has gone down, where people, when they read news, they say, is that really true? Which never used to happen before. And this is another thing evolving from social media, where everybody and anybody can be a journalist, can post user-generated content, can manipulate that content, can change the context and change the narrative. So let's go through. This is something that I being a literature student myself, used to read this quote and never thought that I'll be using in my presentation. And how true it is. It's very easy to fool people, but it's very difficult to tell them that they have been fooled and convince them that, what you believe or what you're saying, what is your perception is actually wrong. And that is what is happening with the term fake news today. Let's watch a little video here that we at BBC did.
Have you ever come across fake news on your social media feed or in your messaging app? It's often difficult to track how it spreads. But for the first time, new research from the BBC gives some insight. Here are some examples. In 2016, the Government of India introduced a new 2000 rupee note. But hours before they were due to be released, messages began circulating, particularly on WhatsApp, saying the new note had a built-in nano GPS chip. The messages claimed the chip could act as a signal reflector and send its precise location on receiving a satellite signal. Now, all that tech jargon makes it sound convincing, right? But really, none of it was true. And this is just one example. Fake news can be really convincing and tricky to identify. But the million-dollar question is, how does fake news spread? And more importantly, who creates it? Well, it's difficult to find the real perpetrator, but it's easy to identify patterns. For instance, a Nipah virus outbreak was reported from Kerala's Kozhikode district. The carriers of this virus are fruit bats. So far, that makes sense. Until someone tweaks the context a bit and shares a new message on larger groups. Don't eat dates, it causes Nipah virus. Wait, how did eating dates get linked to a Nipah virus outbreak? Bats can be found on palm trees. Palm trees bear dates. So, dates must be contaminated with the virus. You see, conclusions are often based on incorrect assumptions. So, you had fake news right in front of you, but it was difficult to identify. The BBC's research shows many people tend to unthinkingly share health related news or information because they assume someone may benefit from it. But actually, not thinking about what you forward does more harm than good. So, the next time you receive news on your messaging app or in your social media feed saying, India has the world's best currency, or the best national anthem in the world, or a space agency warning of an upcoming deadly earthquake, be a little skeptical. Run a check, and you'll be helping tackle the fake news problem.
So, how many have of you saw that message about the 2000 rupee note? Lot of us, yeah, because the TV channels were doing all kinds of graphics, and they were saying if you dig this note, I don't know, 5 feet underground or 10 feet underground, it'll be transmitted and you can't hide it and all that sorts of thing. And these were the mainstream TV channels that our parents and we or our children watch when we sit on the dinner table or in the evening. So, what do people expect then? How would, and then obviously, when the TV channels broadcast it, there were newspapers that picked it up, and the social media was all agog about the 2000 note. What about the Nipah virus? People saw that. I don't know how, but it was all over in Delhi. And my mom calling me, don't eat dates. I know you like dates, so stop eating them. And I'm like, what have dates got to do with bats? And you saw what the connection was. So this is actually what happens when we share, because not necessarily that we have some malintention or we want to harm somebody, but actually we want to protect our loved ones or protect our friends. Oh, have you heard? This is happening. So if there is a riot happening somewhere near your or in your city, you will start getting different messages. Like, I was in Delhi last night, and you might have heard about the student protests in Jamia and other universities in Delhi. So, apart from the main messages and the videos which were floating, people started making memes. It didn't take them long. So the narratives were changing. So the police were putting buses on fire, or the students are doing it. We still don't know, because there is, if you open social media, you will see all sorts of things. Twitter, WhatsApp groups, everywhere, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. And this is what happens with every story. And sometimes there are stories which are created on social media just because to spread. So, what is the intention? I want my social media followers to suddenly multiply. What will I post? I'll create a controversial statement. I'll attach a photo to it or a video and put a, eye-catching caption, and there goes. Suddenly people start commenting on it. Somebody sees their friends comment and they say, who's this person? Let me follow her. And that's how, and suddenly you want to be this famous. Oh, I have that many followers, I have so many friends on Facebook. And if you are a journalist or if you are working in an organization which is known, then it adds to your credibility. People believe what you say. And if somebody who's a famous celebrity or somebody known in that industry retweets your tweet, they've given their confirmation that they believe what you're saying. And there your followers go up and people start believing, okay, this has been retweeted by, say, Rahul Gandhi, so it must be true. Or it has been tweeted by a professor so and so of JNU or DU, so this must be true. So this is how fake news travels so fast. Now we are also discussing whether we should actually call fake news, because that also adds to the difficult connotations that we are having to deal with this. So there is information, then there is misinformation. When you don't actually intend to make people believe something wrong, but you mistakenly either spread it or you mistakenly believe what it is and then you tell people about it. And then there is disinformation, which is when you actually intend to create a different narrative, change people's opinions, you have some political gain or commercial gain, or you want to harm somebody. So now people are actually thinking, even the BBC, that we should not call fake news as fake news, but we should call it disinformation and misinformation when it is misinformation. So what are the motivations? We said that one motivation is, yes, you want to become famous or you want to have a lot of followers by posting something which is controversial or sensationalism, or you want to, there are people who are journalists, but they are more bothered about the quickness of their reports rather than the authenticity of the report. So what they do is they see something or they hear something and they quickly write a copy and publish. Okay, I should be the first to break this news. They haven't checked their sources properly. They don't go back and question the person who's telling them whatever it is or whatever they are saying. So sometimes sloppy journalism also gives rise to fake news, like we saw in the case of the 2000 note. I mean, people actually, channels invested in making those graphics, putting hourly programs around it, when they actually, what they could have done is gone to RBI or asked or waited till the note actually came. Or even sometimes just apply common sense. Will the government really put a chip in every 2000 note? Is that doable? Is that common sense? But people believed it and they went ahead with their programming. Then again, there are troll factories. Annapurna talked about the trolls. And now there are bots. You've heard about the bots? Bots who are not real person, but they just automatically tweet something or retweet, and then they spread like wildfire. And you feel that, okay, this is trending, but actually, is it really trending by the real users, or a certain group has put bots to make that topic trend? This is done by First Draft. First Draft is an independent organization. They are based in New York and they are a research organization. And this is what they've come up with, which I really like. They have sort of divided misinformation and disinformation into 7 categories. So there is satire, we talked about in the last session. So a lot of people actually believe that satire is true. It's not, they don't think that this is actually, can be a parody or making fun of somebody, or it can be a satire. And there are sites, I don't know whether you know about it, but there are actual satire sites who do very well. They're very, very famous. There's fakingnews.com, there is Mashable, the Onion, yeah, very famous, the Onion. And actually people believe it when they put out, because their writing is very good, yeah, but they clearly say on their site that this is a satire. But people, when you post it on the social media, sometimes people pick up paragraphs without picking the whole content, without knowing, and you might not know what Onion is, and you will like, oh my god, there is this US site saying, this, so it is true. And actually they're making fun, they are just being satirical. So this comes under misinformation. Misleading content, then use of information to frame an issue or individual. I don't want to be very political here, looking at the recent, but we can't help it because the climate in the country is such that everything has been politicized. So I just want to give you an example of the recent thing that I saw on TV. Um, when the citizenship bill was being discussed, Smriti Irani got up in the parliament and said Rahul Gandhi must apologize for calling in India, make make in India the rape comment that he made. And she went on and went on. And he had not said that actually. What he had said was completely different. But how many people did see what Rahul Gandhi said? So you saw, but a lot of us might not have seen. So I saw that and I wanted to know, what did he say? That, she was like, he must apologize. So I went back, but how many people will go back? If I like Smriti Irani and I am a follower of the party, I will not go back to check what Rahul Gandhi was saying. I will believe what she said. So this is an example of misleading content. It's not just, I'm just not saying that Smriti Irani did that. A lot of politicians do that from across the parties. Yeah, they they utilize the context to suit themselves. So they mislead you. Imposter content, when genuine sources are impersonated. So there are lots of people on Twitter, on Instagram who will impersonate somebody. Usually people know it should have a blue tick and all that sort of, but sometimes people don't know that. And they think that this is a, so Shah Rukh Khan has around 50 Instagram handles. But obviously there will be only one, which is his own. But there will be people calling themselves SRK, Shah Rukh Khan, Star, and they also have thousands of following. So who's following them? People believe what they see. They might not know about the blue tick authenticity. Everybody does not, right? Fabricated content. When new content is 100% false, there are lots of such things like the 2000 chip note story. So 100% false. False connections. Sometimes you see in social media we share stories. The headline is very sensational. How many of you actually click on it when you receive certain post on your WhatsApp? I don't have time to click on all of, in certain groups, people keep sending. So I just read the headline and I assume the whole article is about that. And I make opinion and I say, oh my God, this newspaper or this media organization always does this. Bikau hai, ye hai, wo hai. I have not clicked. So actually, the headline is saying something else, but the article says something very different. And this is what is called the false connection. False context. When genuine content is shared with false contextual information. We'll see an example later here. Again, what you put up something in a totally different context and you don't give the whole narrative. You just pick up what suits you. And the manipulated content, photos are changed, like the one that Professor Raj showed. They are manipulated, might be for fun reason, but some people believe that. And they generally think that, she doesn't have any sense of makeup or whatever. And, things get worse from there because she was really offended. And I don't know whether you read the reports, and it has gone really out of hand now. What is the impact? We have seen a lot of impact in recent years in India, not to say across the world in different elections that we heard. But in India, we have seen social and political harm, beliefs and confusion. There's lots of confusion. People don't know what to believe anymore. They think that what I used to believe, I don't believe anymore. And then there are people who are really put off. Some people just leave social media platforms because they say that it's so depressing and I just don't know who's saying what. So there's a lot of confusion that has been created. Again, what I said, loss of trust in news and media. So a lot of youngsters have told us that, we have stopped reading the newspaper. We have stopped seeing the news because you guys are all, false. You are just creating fake news and we don't believe it. We get what we want from our social media feeds. So we have installed these lot of apps which segregate content for you according to your likes and dislikes, yeah? Violence. We've also seen violence as a result of spread of fake news. A lot of people were lynched because they were believed to be kidnappers of children. Have you heard that story? So across India, a lot of I think around 50 people have been lynched because people believed that they were kidnappers, whereas there was no proof or evidence about that. They might have been just an outsider to that area or region. And this did not even, I can't say that this was only in India. There was a huge story in Brazil where two men, a grandson and a grandfather, were mob lynched and killed because people believed that they were child kidnappers. And the whole thing was broadcasted live on Facebook. And the mother, who was the mother of the grandson, and the daughter of the grandfather saw it live on Facebook and kept requesting people. They are not child kidnappers, they were just looking for work and they had come from another city to that village. And it all happened in front of a police station because the police tried to protect them and they burned these two to death. So and why do people suddenly, it was only a rumor that it starts, but because it amplified through the social media networks, people suddenly, why were they afraid? Because there were lots of children. There was a park there where children used to play, and suddenly these fake news play on your emotional sentiments, yeah? So obviously every parent would try to protect their children, and they were like, oh my God. And one said, and everybody believed. They didn't, you lose your reason, you lose your sanity to question, what am I doing? I have put some examples here. Sorry, not very aesthetically designed. Didn't have much time for this presentation. So we'll see some examples of manipulation of context. Can you see this, or is it very small? Sound? Yeah, let me see if I have. No, but the sound is not playing here also. I don't know why. There is a sound, but can you just check? No, in your video. It was playing. Okay, let's see it here. The text is bigger. छोड़ दीजिए.
Do you believe that video is real?
Yeah, I believe in this video.
I don't know what happens. So basically, I'll just tell you about this video. This is a video which was done by a Pakistani NGO. And they wanted to apprise people about the safety of their children because some events had happened there. So they are telling in that video, first video where the bike comes and children are playing and somebody picks up, that how, and then they get back the child, and then they put that how easy it is to kidnap children in the streets of Karachi. But the video that was circulated, the last bit is not shown. So how different are our streets from Karachi? How different our children dress up?
This is Bangalore, India's third city. It's modern and diverse, the heart of the IT industry. And yet here, under this flyover, Kalu became a victim of India's fake news firestorm.
So Kalu was a person in Bangalore looking for a job, and he was mob lynched because people started saying that he is one of those abductors, and they had just received that video. And nobody knows from where it originates really, because people, and then local media picked it up.
So before spreading such type of news which are not authenticated, I only request the media to confirm it and then spread it.
Okay. Comes in bits. So this is just one of the examples, and I think this firestorm has not died, the child kidnapping one. We also had some reports recently where 2 more people were lynched recently in one part of India just because of these reports. So I just wanted to tell you that how just not putting the last bit of video and spreading it, who gained it? Who gained from it? We have no idea who gained from that. But it's just people like to. But if I receive that video, I would like, oh my God, I have to send it to my friends and tell them that to make sure that children should be safe, right? If you get it and if you have a younger sibling at home, you will be, distressed that yes, I must send it to my neighbors, my friends, and that's how it spreads. And then something like this extreme happens. Then there are some mistakes that happen, as I said, through us journalists. This is an example.
There's a cracking story in some of the papers today about the police finding an underground hideout used by...
Small, yeah? I'll play it from the... Sorry, guys.
There's a cracking story in some of the papers today about the police finding an underground hideout used by a gang of robbers. It's described as an excavated lair that's been dug under the road. Sounds fascinating.
So this is Times of India.
We found it. This is the hole described in the paper. This is where the gang was living for 6 months. This is where they were stashing the phones, watches, laptops that they'd stolen. There are rooms down here with mattresses where they could sleep. There's also a bathroom that they were using. It's pretty dirty down there and it smells a bit too. And there's a reason for that, because not everything here is as it seems. It isn't underground. This is not an excavated lair. It's not a tunnel dug under a footpath. It's a disused toilet. It's not 10 feet below the surface, it's 10 feet above the surface. This is a good reminder of the first thing I ever learned at journalism school. Always check your facts and always go and take a look for yourself.
So yes, we decided to investigate the story, and this is where it led to. So it was in Times of India, and if it is in Times of India, many other papers and regional papers picked it up without going to see where this is. So this also happens when fake news is spread, yeah? Then there is this example.
मैं बेताबी से देखना चाहता
Sorry, I will just play it from there. This is very interesting.
इसलिए मैं बेताबी से देखना चाहता हूँ.
What did you think watching
That's
that?
incredible, actually, and unsettling.
Sorry.
Because I know I can't do that. 1989.
He trabajado en la BBC desde 1989.
不好意思，我英语之外什么都不会说。
मैं अपने बड़े कुंबे के साथ मिलने के लिए इंडिया जाता रहता हूँ.
Look out, I shout. He's following you.
父母说古吉拉特语的时候，我能听懂。
Worked for the BBC since 1989.
Soy británico de segunda generación.
但是呢，我说不来，这很不幸。
मैं अपने बड़े कुंबे के साथ मिलने के लिए इंडिया जाता रहता हूँ.
What did you think watching
That's
that?
incredible, actually, and unsettling. Because I know I can't do that, and then you see they've made me look as if I can. Occasionally, you can see the bit that doesn't quite match up, but the majority you can just about get away with, I think.
this is what we are up against now. When you and the softwares are becoming more and more advanced, and they turn out things that it is very, very difficult to investigate. So sometimes there is also a very interesting piece, if you want to see, on BBC website by Obama. So Obama is not saying what he's saying, and there's completely somebody else saying, but you can't make out. You really can't make out until you know that this is deep fake, and you have to look for it. So yes, people are knowing. So if you see a video now, you have to think twice before that actually this person is saying that or not. And we know that we have seen examples of doctored videos. We've seen examples where people are saying something else and it has been broadcast as something else. So yeah, word is changing quickly, and so is the word of fake news. Am I on the right? What is, so I came here not to talk about just fake news, but what BBC is doing. And I'm glad to say that a lot of organizations in India are working on this now. And I went to this conference come workshop recently by Facebook in India, and was glad to meet all sorts of people from civil society, from the NGO, from media organizations who are now working for digital literacy and combating fake news. So it's good to know that people are engaged. But as what can we do as lay people, as students? What can you do? And what do we expect the society as a whole to do? Because it's very difficult. It is still a drop in the ocean. There are people with smartphones in rural areas in India who believe what they see on their WhatsApp messages, who will believe what they see on Facebook. And they don't have that kind of digital literacy that they can figure out if something is wrong or if something is fake. So in BBC's strategy, we want to obviously challenge fake news and disinformation while promoting global media literacy. So we just don't want to say that, okay, we are busting fake news all across, but we are also working towards how to teach people about digital literacy, what is correct and what is, how they can, if you see a piece of information, how can you, sitting at your home or sitting in your classroom or looking at your phone, what can you do, what tools can you use to dispel whether it's news or fake news. We are also obviously continuing to work as an independent, engaging, and trusted organization. When you come into the BBC, the first thing as a journalist we learn is to check facts. So we cannot break any news until we have it from two authenticated sources. Even if we are running behind, and everybody has broken that story, we are not allowed to do it until we have two trusted sources. The same story from two trusted sources. Now, trusted sources can be, we have a certain list of media organizations that we believe are trusted, or agencies, or we have our own reporter on ground who can tell us, yes, this is true. So a lot of media organizations don't do that. So you can see when you open a channel, especially in India, there is breaking news every minute. So everything is breaking news, but we don't categorize everything as breaking news unless we've really checked. We are working a lot on creativity and diversity because that is, we feel, the best way to interpret different kind of news. So if I have a news from, say, a particular region in India, and I don't know the context, I don't understand. If I'm not from that region, it's difficult for me to understand. So we have engaged a lot of diverse colleagues, co-workers, freelancers network, who can break down those barriers for us and tell us the context of things so that we understand better that, okay, if you are coming from a certain region in Karnataka, if I see this news, you can tell me whether this is wrong, this is old news from 4 years back, or this is a real news. So, and obviously we continue to build on our trusted reputation. In the UK, last year, the BBC launched a new program supporting young people because we thought that there is a lot of fake news out there. What is the best way to tackle it? Let's start young. If we teach our kids today to question what they see and how to question and how to think about how to do critical thinking on any piece of news that they see, that is the society we want to develop further. So they started this program from the school level, from the secondary schools, six forms across UK. Every 1,000 schools per year are offered this opportunity, and they all register with the BBC and go through this mentoring program. They are given access to online material, video games, which are like tutorials, and there's a very interesting game. It's free. You can go to the BBC site and search for BBC iReporter. Even you can play it. It's a very interesting game, and it actually teaches you, as a reporter, what should be your checks and balances before you break a story. So have a look at it. It's obviously done in a game way, so it's very interesting. Then they did a lot of reality check roadshow across the country and across schools. What did we do in India? So we were facing the same and even a more huge problem than the UK last year, and we launched this project called Beyond Fake News. It was also launched in Africa, but we saw a lot of good results coming from India. So our focus was on media literacy and solutions. We did media literacy workshops in schools. These were 4-hour workshops done with 11th, 12th, 10 to 11th, 12th graders, and mostly humanities students, because science students didn't have the time, frankly. But humanities, we felt, were the students who really engaged with us. They already knew a lot of stuff. Science students were very focused on their subjects, because in few schools we had a mixed crowd, but it was I felt, because I was leading these workshops, I felt the humanities students were the ones who actually grasped the context very easily, because you guys probably deal with this socio psychological things that we read, but the science students were very, they wanted practical exercises to be very technical. So they were not very engaged with us, but the humanities students really received it well. So we went around 300 school students we addressed, and around 100 college students in India. We did this workshop in 6 Indian languages. So it was in English, Hindi, Gujarati, Punjabi, basically the languages that we function in India. Then we also had conferences in 6 regions where we invited panel debates of tech experts, media personalities, and discussed the issue of fake news. We also held a hackathon on solutions of fake news, partnered with Google, and we invited the IIT students across India. Some of you participated in this hackathon of 2 days, where we clubbed the teams with one editorial person from one media organization and a tech person from a IIT background and another person, and they thought of ideas how to combat this problem. So they were very interesting ideas that came from that. Then we also obviously did our core job, which was programming across BBC networks on these stories, and documentaries and special reports and features. So this is a video on our digital video. I hope that the sound works. I really want the sound in this one. Let me go back. Sorry, guys. I have all the videos here. We are very trained in the BBC because this is always that happens to us. Let me see, but if I have. It's not working. I don't know why the sound is not. It's going a
very interesting and interactive workshop for us.
અમને ઘણી બધી એક્સરસાઇઝ દ્વારા શીખવાડ્યું કે ફેક ન્યૂઝ કેવી રીતે આપણા સમાજમાં આવે છે.
उन्होंने हमें इतने सारे टास्क दिए कि हमें ग्रुप्स में बिठाया, हमें वर्कशीट दी, हमें फेक न्यूज़ के बारे में बहुत कुछ बताया.
It's basically like wildfire. You just need a spark, and by the time you even know it, it's already reached out to the country and even outside of.
તેને રોકવા માટે શું કરવું જોઈએ તેના અલગ-અલગ અમને ઉપાયો શીખવાડ્યા.
And the best part was the coordination amongst the members, the way they just passed from one person to another without wasting any time.
Okay, amazing. I'm glad that you had so much of a fun time. Today you learned
what is fake and what is just a different form of misinformation. Like we talk about spin and satire and things like that.
फेक न्यूज बद्दल ती कशी ओळखायची, ती कोणत्या कोणत्या मुद्द्यांना धरून ओळखायची याविषयी खूप माहिती मिळाली.
Now I'm going to pause for a minute and use everything that I've learned and to decipher if
अगर कोई न्यूज़ फेक है ਸਾਨੂੰ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਚੈलेंज ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਕਿ ਫਾਰਵਰਡ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ.
the final part of today, you actually got to figure out a solution. Now you're going to make it happen. Your principal, your teachers are all saying you guys are the fake news ambassadors.
Because you have to multiply this number, okay? And if this number multiplies, then we should aim at a situation where people who want the good are more in number than the people who want the bad.
So thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
So this is a glimpse of the workshops that we did across schools. And as I said, it was 4-hour workshop. At the end of the workshop, we gave them a project where they told us, we divided them. So typically 30 to 40 students were in each workshop. And we divided them into groups according to their talents. So we asked them their hobbies and their talents. So if they said singing, somebody said instrument, somebody said football, somebody said reading, somebody said writing. And so there were a variety of, and then we asked them, okay, what will you do through your hobby to combat fake news? And they came with some brilliant ideas, and we asked them to work on those ideas and submit it to us after a month. And we will choose one of the best ideas, and we will invite the school to our conference on fake news and also award them with certificates and stuff. And we had such a tough time choosing from these brilliant ideas. So a few of my favorites was a folk song in Tamil, where these girls, it was a girls' school, so these girls built a folk song on fake news in Tamil, and they played their folk instruments, and they shot it and sent it to us, the video of it. Then another school in Delhi made their own workshop about fake news and held that workshop for the parents in their parents-teacher interaction. And told the parents, because everybody in the workshop would say, actually it's our parents who believe whatever they see. It's our grandmothers, it's our grandfathers. They keep telling us, don't do this, it'll happen like this. Or put this on your hair and your hair will grow very long. Or do this today and see what is happening. So it's them that we need to address. So they built this workshop with some of our content, but a lot of their own research and what they learned from our workshop, and addressed the parents. And then there was another one in Gujarat where the students held a poster competition in their school on fake news. And then they didn't just stop there. They did a bicycle rally. So they put the posters on their bicycles, and on a Sunday, they went to their local park with those posters on their bicycles so that they could spread the message in the park with the generals. So they were brilliant ideas. We had a difficult time choosing, but we chose the Tamil school because we really liked their creativity and the way they engaged with the rest of the school and did the folk song, and we invited them to Delhi. to our studios and we shot them and to the conference. But that is the power of catching young minds at a very good, at that age, because they will grasp it as soon as possible. Um, yeah. So a little about the hackathon. So this was the hackathon between the BBC and the Google India, 2-day hackathon at Google's office. And as I said, there were fact checkers, there were IIT students from across India, and skilled media professionals. Some of the judges were obviously from Google's, from BBC, and we also invited Alt News editor Pratik Sinha. I don't know if you know Alt News, but it's a good website to check whenever you're in doubt about anything. So they bust a lot of fake news. Then what are we doing currently? We have a BBC reality check team. So this team is based in London, but we also have 2 people placed across the world who feed into this team. So we also have 2 people in Delhi feeding into the reality check team in London, and they do content in English. They pick up these fake news stories and they investigate. So the latest story on the reality check, so if you again go to the BBC English site and there is a menu, in the menu you will see reality check. The story from India is on the Citizenship Amendment Bill, and they investigate what all Amit Shah said during when he was proposing the bill, and so was it actually correct about the minorities in these countries and about what happened in the past. So go and read that. We also have a local fact check team which looks at content in 6 Indian languages. So of course there is a lot of content happening in every regional language which can be fake and so these people check for the local content and then they publish and tell people that okay, this is so. On our each website, in the language website, we have every week we have 1 or 2 stories on fact checking. Currently, we are scaling the media literacy workshops that we did in schools, and we are in talks. We have changed and brought it to 1.5 hour, 2 hours, so that we can carry it forward. We can share the online resources and make them freely available to tech companies to share across their platforms, so that they are not limited to us, but spread out in general and people can use it. So this is from me. Thank you for listening patiently. I would like